come out of the court we don't hear about. We don't. But one that most of us in this room probably heard about was Robert Robertson.
Yes.
And that one hits really close to home because it was just down in Palestine. And so that decision came out recently to stay his execution. And so you're allowed to talk about your
I'll say what I said.
Yeah. And I would love to hear, Tom, what you think about that too, if you're allowed to if you can comment on it.
So one of the things that I have to be careful about in talking about it is that it's a case that it has a pretty high likelihood of making its way back to my court. What our court has done at this point is to remand the case back to the trial to the lower courts so that they can investigate some questions that the court has that the court wants to have answered. And that's why the case was stayed. The majority of the court believed that they wanted to get these answers before they ruled on the question that the lawyers for Roberson presented to the court. And so in order to have time for that to happen, there was no option in the court's view but to stay the execution and send it back. So there is that process that's at play right now. As for myself, I disagreed with that decision. So I wrote a dissenting opinion and basically pointed out that we have a system that it's a judge-created. When somebody brings an application for a writ of habeas corpus to the court, which Roberson did, and asks us to answer a question, the court did that with basically the same question that we had this time when it got stayed, but we did that a year ago. And the question hadn't really changed very much. It was basically the same question. And yet what the court did this time was even though it had already decided that, it went back and it denied the new pleading that Roberson had. And it reopened a year-old decision and went back and rehashed the question they'd already answered. So in my view, I think decisions of the courts should be final at some point, right? And that's my problem with the courts having gone ahead and pushed it back yet again was an illustration of the fact that we don't treat those cases as final at any point. The legislature passed a law some years ago to restrict the numbers of applications for habeas relief that people can file. Because historically, they used to file application 1, application 2, application 3, and they would all be raising, many of them, the same questions that we've already answered, application 5, application 6. And we still get people who do that, but the legislature said that you only get one, right? You get one application for the writ of habeas corpus, and then only if you have new facts or new law, and that's a generalization, but we call it the gateway, and there's technical legal words in the statute about whether you meet that or not. Only when you meet the gateway with new facts or new law do you get to file another writ of habeas corpus, right? So again, I think that our practice that we've adopted on our own defeats the legislative intent of having one writ and having to demonstrate that you've got something really new here. And so anyway, that's something that I disagreed with my colleagues about, but the case is now remanded, and so we're awaiting the development of the questions that the court sent back, and when the case comes back to the court, we'll see the court is going to, again, end up addressing those questions again. Well, things can happen that could avoid that. When a person dies, for example, if Roberson unfortunately passes away in the meantime, then we would lose jurisdiction of the case, right? And so, there's a funny story about, you all know who Jacob Rubenstein is? Jacob Rubenstein? Nobody knows that when I say it that way, but you know who John F. Fitzgerald Kennedy is, right? Yeah. President who was assassinated in Dallas. And you know who Lee Harvey Oswald is? That guy that a lot of people think might have participated in that. That's a joke. But then there was a guy, when they were moving Oswald out of one of the government buildings there in Dallas on television in front of God and everybody, Jacob Rubenstein, also known as Jack Ruby, murdered him.
Okay.
Right? So anyway, Ruby got convicted of murder after that in Dallas County, right where all the murders happened. He appealed to the Court of Criminal Appeals, which reversed his conviction. Did y'all know that?
No.
Jack Ruby's conviction was reversed, his murder conviction, and so they sent his trial back, his case back for a new trial. But before his trial could happen, he passed away. And when you die, the criminal courts lose jurisdiction over you. We can't send you to jail if you're a dead person. And, we can't fine you. But anyway, he died, and so what that means about him is he goes down now in the annals of Texas history as presumed innocent. Because we're all presumed innocent until we're finally convicted in front of a fair trial in front of a jury of our peers. Now, Roberson's situation is distinct because it's not an appeal, it's a habeas proceeding, right? So I don't want to confuse those two things.